Hi, paleontologists. That's right. You are going to have to start thinking like a paleontologist. We are moving toward being able to write our own fictional story where you are going to be the paleontologist and you are going to share what you're thinking and feeling. Today, you are going to study. We're going to get back into the Maiasaura dig for a minute because we're going to study our character that we've been learning about, Dr. Holly Woodward Ballard, who is a real paleontologist. We're going to study her responses again to a major event in the text, and then we are going to practice writing our own sentences from the perspective of a paleontologist. So that means you are going to pretend that you are a paleontologist and you are actually out somewhere on a dig and you are going to share what you are thinking and feeling. So you're going to kind of have to become that character today. All right, let's get started. So first, I want to come over and I want to look at the story, The Search for the Tiniest Bones. Now, we read this last week, and you'll remember that Dr. Holly Woodward Ballard shared her story. And in her story, she had a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I want to talk about what happened in the beginning. And I have my graphic organizer over here. So I'm going to bring you back over this way now. Okay. So in the beginning of the story, remember the purpose of a beginning is you want to get your reader interested, and then you want to establish a situation. So she tells us where she was. She was in the Brandvold Quarry, which is in the Egg Mountain area, and she was on a dig, and she was specifically on a hunt for the baby bones. Those are hard to find because they're so tiny. And she tells us that she knew it was really important to try to find the baby bones because we don't know, as paleontologists don't really know a whole lot about baby dinosaurs. And so these tiny little bones can give lots of important clues and information. So in the beginning of the story, she tells us what tools she has with her. I guess as the story unfolds, she begins to tell us how she's using her tools. So when you begin to think like a paleontologist and you begin to write about your thoughts and feelings and your actions, I'm sure your actions are going to include that you're using some of these tools. You're going to tell your reader that you're using the shovel or the pickaxe. And you might say how you're using it. You might say, I'm using the shovel to dig through a layer of rock. Or this layer of rock is so thick and heavy, I had to jackhammer through to get down to the fossil. You might say you were using a brush to brush some of that sediment away to get to see the fossil. So there's some of the tools that she talks about as she's writing. And what was she wondering about there in the beginning? There in the beginning of the story, it tells us that she's wondering, will she ever find this tiny bone that she's looking for? She even says, we had found so many bones, but I was beginning to think we wouldn't find any tiny ones. So she's sharing her feelings there, and that's how we know what she was wondering. Okay, so the middle of our story, this is kind of when she finds the fossil, right? This is like the biggest and best part, so that's why it's got two columns. So what happened in the middle? So what did she see, first of all? Well, she saw a tiny black line, remember? And then what actions did she take? These are the kinds of sentences you're going to be writing up using today. That you gently brushed away the mudstone to find a tiny Maiasaura femur. So I like how that not only did she tell us that she used her brush to brush away, I like how she used the word gently, and that describes how she was brushing. So she wasn't forcefully scrubbing at the mudstone, she was gently brushing. So maybe you'll use some good descriptive words there too to tell us how you, as the paleontologist, are using your tool. Okay, so now I want to look at her feelings. She talks about her feelings over here in the story, and I'm going to bring you over here so I can show you. Down here, here's where she gently removed the rest of the sediment and uncovered the bones. And now we're going to kind of find out her feelings. Let me see, are they in this part? Or is she back here when she shares her feelings? It must be on down this way. Yes. She gently brushed the bone surface and she's putting the glue on it. Okay. So she says, I couldn't wait to tell my team. All right, so that tells us what she's thinking, right? I couldn't wait to tell my team. She says, at the end of the dig, my team and I were so excited. So there's a feeling word. She was excited about what they had found. She was especially thrilled to have finally found the tiny femur. What an incredible feeling. Okay, she also says in here in this story that she felt relieved, that she found something she was looking for. She was happy. So these are her feelings. So when you're a paleontologist and you make a big discovery, you're going to have some pretty strong feelings about that. And you're going to want to let your reader know how you're feeling. And so you're going to probably say things that show that, or you might do actions that show that, or you might tell us how you're feeling. So we're going to work on doing that today too. Now, at the end of the story, she recorded her findings on the meter squares in the field and on grid paper. Remember, it told us that it's really important that paleontologists record where they found their fossil, and those are the tools they use to record it on. So you might even, one of your sentences might say, oh, I was shaking because I was so excited that I almost couldn't write on the grid paper to write down where I found the fossil. Wouldn't that show how excited you felt? And she decided she was going to take the bone back to the lab to learn more about it. So that's kind of how our story ends. All right, now what I want to do with you guys today is I want to talk about the kinds of thoughts a paleontologist might have. So I've got this chart here. We already know many of the action words that a paleontologist might use when they're in the process of uncovering a fossil or they're on a dig. So these would be great words we could use if we're writing about our actions. So, but what might we be thinking if we're a paleontologist? Remember, if the ideas we have in our head, those are our thoughts. What might our thoughts be? When a paleontologist is working, they might say, I wonder where the fossil is. They might say, I know that this bone is very old. I didn't know we would discover a fossil here. Maybe. They might say, gosh, I hope we don't break the fossil when we move it. Remember how Holly had to use glue to keep it together so that when it got moved to the site, it didn't, because it's so thin and little, it didn't break. Okay. Now, let's look at some pictures and let's imagine what we might be thinking as a paleontologist. Here's two paleontologists. What might they be thinking? Here's some paleontologists. What do you think they're thinking? Here's a paleontologist that found this fossil. What do you think this paleontologist is thinking? Well, let me tell you, in this picture here, this paleontologist is holding a small piece of fossilized rock that has the impressions of organisms from long ago. In this picture here, these paleontologists are using their shovels to try to find a fossil underneath lots of dirt, mud, and rocks. Does that help you think what they might be thinking? I wonder if we'll ever find this fossil underneath all this muddy mess. That could be what they're thinking. All right, these guys here, this picture, they are excavating the bones of very large creatures, you can see. I wonder what they're thinking. Now, what feelings might these paleontologists be having? What might they be feeling? They might be feeling excited. They might be feeling frustrated, those guys in the mud. They might be feeling maybe disappointed if they weren't finding what they were looking for. Maybe they're feeling tired. They've been digging so long, exhausted. Maybe they found what they were looking for. They feel happy. There's so many feelings these paleontologists might be feeling. So here is your assignment for today. I want you on a piece of paper, it can be in any notebook or just a piece of paper, you're going to write me a sentence, or two sentences. You're going to write me a thoughts sentence and a feeling sentence. But really, you're not the one writing it. You are pretending to be someone else. You are imagining that you are a paleontologist. And you are writing from that perspective. You are a paleontologist. And you can use these pictures here. So maybe you're this paleontologist. Write me a sentence of what you are thinking, and write me a sentence of what you are feeling. Or maybe you want to use this picture and be one of these paleontologists. Or maybe you want to use this picture and be this paleontologist. You decide, but write me two sentences today. One sentence that shows what you're thinking and one sentence that shows what you're feeling. And you can definitely use stuff you can borrow from the thoughts and feelings chart. But I'd like for you to try to come up with a little bit different of a thought than one that I typed. Try to come up with something different, okay? All right, guys, I'll see you back tomorrow.